Meave noted a crowd of dwarves. They were several dozen, many holding baskets brimming with dried sausages, soft, puffy pretzels, and jugs of frothy beer.
What is this gathering?
She asked Gabor.
These folk, they're the parents of youngsters who are to return today from their Dreckthag.
Gabor proceeded to explain that the Dreckthag was a trek upon which the local dwarves would embark when they reached maturity. During this year-long voyage, young folk would taste of life beyond their home. Yet if they failed to return on time, they would be stripped of all rights and privileges accorded to Mahakam's natives.
See, in recent years, young folks' blood's been boiling on account of the strict laws in force here.
Gabor added.
So, we send them out. Let them taste life in the lowlands. Once they've learned for themselves what it's like to live among humans, they come back and ain't likely to complain.
Customarily, only a few dwarves ever decided to remain in the valleys for good. That year, however, was different.
Deadline's the Mora. And 40 Dreckthagers still haven't returned.
Their parents now worried if some misfortune had not befallen them. The Mahakaman Guard had sent out patrols to the near reaches of the valleys. They returned not having seen anything distressing, while the humans living at the foot of the massif had been largely unwilling to talk. The guard captain, a dwarf with a fiery red beard, removed his helmet, wiped the sweat from his brow, and addressed Meave.
Your Majesty, we need to find our youth. Perhaps you'd be willing to go out and search. Human folk are more like to tell you if they saw anything out of the ordinary of late. Naturally, there'd be something in it for you too.
One could say I myself have lost a son.
Meave gripped the captain's hand firmly.
And I know well the pain that comes. I shall do all in my might to spare you at least that.
Meave set off, the hopeful gazes of the dwarven parents bidding her farewell. The Queen sent a scout ahead. Sometime later, she heard his horn. 3 blasts. 2 short, 1 long.
An ambush!
Meave expected to combat beasts or robbers. Yet upon her force descended warriors with squirrel tails attached to their helms. Scoia'tael.
Scoia'tael! Don't let them escape!
Abayeth me pass!
I smell a leak. Are you mad? Don't shake that! Got a hearty hankering for Gwent.
The Scoia'tael are a plague. They blight all they touch.
Hi-ho! Hi-ho!
Us or them, no other way!
Oh, my little A.
As ordered.
Thing about slings, they hide well. Hey?
Oh, could murder a pint. Now we must stick together.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch. Now we will see who is weak!
Company! Forward march!
I shall not fail!
Prepare to fight, if you've any honor.
None shall tread on us!
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
Elven blarney.
I'd hoped we could solve this some other way.
Well, if anyone's got any hooch left.
Greetings. What is it?
They used to tire my tongue about that.
Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
Scoia'tael! Attack!
Have strength, my love.
I fear not, for faith guides me.
They're so young. No wonder they were easily manipulated.
As soon as the battle had come to an end, the prisoners were brought before the Queen. All, without exception, were dwarves, and all looked to be youthful dwarves.
Mystery solved,
muttered Meve. In fact, these were the missing Drekthagers. Instead of returning home, they had enlisted with guerrillas fighting for non-human rights. But what had prompted so drastic a decision?
I was impatient. Wanted badly to turn 50. I couldn't wait to see human cities. Vitsima, Tretogor, Novigrad.
Said one of the dwarven prisoners while pressing a bandage to a bleeding wound.
And you know the welcome that awaited me there. I was spit upon and called names. I saw ghettos, massacres. And how was I to go back to the mines after that? We must fight while we still can. Before the humans come to cut us down. We must tell the rest of ours the same. Pull all Mahakam into the fight!
Meve's soldiers stood waiting for her to protest, to accuse the dwarf of lying. But the Queen could not pretend she did not understand why the dwarf had taken up arms. Without entering into a discussion, she ordered the prisoners taken to be tried and judged by their kin and elders. The dwarven parents thus got their offspring returned to them, albeit wounded and in chains. Bruva Hoog, who had limitless disdain for the Scoia'tael, demanded the dwarven youth be severely punished for succumbing to the rebels' seductive ideals. In the end, the Drekthagers were sentenced to 50 years' hard labor in the quarries. The Elder-in-Chief believed a half-century of swinging a pickaxe would sufficiently cool the hot heads of these would-be guerrilla fighters.
They came back alive. That's the key part.
The red-headed captain said, handing Meve a pouch as a reward.
And perchance by the time they're freed, the war twixt the races will be over, eh? What do you think, Queen?
Meve shrugged in response. Perhaps she had no opinion in the matter, or perhaps she simply did not wish to state it aloud.
Might be in jail, but at least they're back. That's most important.
Along her way, Meve heard cries. She rushed to see what the ruckus was about. Upon seeing Black Rayla spattered with blood, she expected the worst. Reynard could only confirm the Queen's fears.
She entered the wagon unnoticed. The wagon carrying the prisoners. She then cut their throats, one by one.
40 dwarves. Alone.
They were shackled. They could not defend themselves.
Rayla had nothing to say in her defense. In point of fact, she exuded pride.
Mahakam had been free of Scoia'tael, till now. We'd have done all a questionable favour by bringing back a wagon full of enraged youth wearing squirrel tails. They'd have posed as martyrs for a just cause. They'd have shown off their scars and persuaded the clans to make war on humans. All that deserved to be nipped in the bud.
Meve could see the blood rushing to Reynard's head. When he finally spoke, it was clear he was holding the reins of his emotions, preventing himself from exploding with some difficulty.
Your Grace, We must banish her, drive her off. This was in no way ordinary insubordination. This was a grave crime.
Your Majesty, you know I rarely meddle in your affairs.
Said Isbel.
Yet for this, I cannot remain silent. This woman must go.
Rayla, 'tis a fine line that separates a soldier, a warrior, from one who commits murder.
Said Meve.
That line you crossed today. You are to leave my ranks immediately. And never do I wish to see you again.
Rayla said nothing. She merely bowed in an excessively courtly manner, then moved off down the slope. Yet even once she disappeared, a clear red trail remained in the snow where she had passed. A trail of dwarven blood that had dripped from her armor. The Lyrians remained silent throughout their return. Upon spying their downcast eyes and somber means, the dwarves awaiting the return of their offspring dispersed to their homes, leaving baskets full of treats in the snow. No one asked any questions of Meve. Luckily so, as the Queen would not have known how to answer.
I neither accept nor condone what Rayla did. Yet, there is a war on, and she is one of the best warriors I have under my command.
Said the Queen.
Naturally, I shall punish her. But I cannot banish her.
Reynard opened his mouth to say something, but upon spotting Rayla's scornful smile, he turned on his heel and marched off without a word. He was later seen in the mess tent, drinking alone, his eyes fixed on the bottom of his tankard. The Lyrians remained silent throughout their return. Upon spying their downcast eyes and somber means, the dwarves awaiting the return of their offspring dispersed to their homes, leaving baskets full of treats in the snow. No one asked any questions of Meve. Luckily so, as the Queen would not have known how to answer.
Mom, I've come to tell you I must leave your army.
What? Why?
Against my better judgment, I joined you to heal your wounded. I realize now that was a mistake.
What exactly do you mean?
What you did runs counter to all my beliefs. You had your reasons, and have them still, I know. Yet I've no desire to abet them. I'd feel shame to lend a hand.
What can I do? Is there anything that would make you stay?
No, Mom. Farewell.
So be it. Good luck and Godspeed, Isbel.
Didn't he find nothing? Not a trace. What could have happened?
If your guards who know these mountains like the backs of their hands could not find them,
Said Meve.
Then I truly doubt we will. Forgive me, I must refuse.
Having said this, the Queen rode off and her army resumed its march. And the dwarven parents were left to turn their gazes once more toward the valleys. The Queen noted a building with unusually lavish ornamentation, including shining bronze roof tiles and glistening rock crystal window panes. An important clan dwelled there, Gabor explained. The Breckenrigs.
Could you introduce me?
Meve asked.
Perhaps I can convince them to intercede with Bruver on my behalf.
The clan head, Ivar, invited Meve to an exquisite feast. But when she broached the subject of the war raging just outside Mahakam's borders, the dwarf changed the subject at once. Looking around the interior, Meve quickly understood why. The walls were ordained with Nilfgaardian tapestries and rugs. Gifts from friendly Imperial envoys, no doubt. Meve prepared to leave, convinced she had wasted her time, when someone clasped her shoulder and pulled her into a darkened room. Her kidnapper turned out to be a young dwarf, female, it seemed, dressed in her nightshirt. She introduced herself as Ivar's daughter, Eudora Breckenriggs, and openly admitted she had eavesdropped on Meve's dinner conversation.
Listen, me dad's stubborner than an old goat, but I'll convince him to help ye. For a wee favour, that is.
Mm-hmm. What?
I want you to steal something from the clan archive. Historiae Mahakamorum, 'tis called. See, me dad won't let me betroth me sweetikin Zoltan. Says the codex forbids marrying a dwarf who's left the mountains. But there's precedent. Just such a case described in that document. If I can show it to Dad, he'll have to change his mind.
Meve felt sympathy for Eudora and wanted to help her, especially considering the favor Eudora could do her in return. But she fully realized if her attempt to break into the archive ended badly, it would result in a tremendous scandal Bruva Hoog would not soon forget.
Listen, I wish all the best for you and Zelton.
Zoltan.
Eudora corrected.
Yes, right. Zoltan. In any case, it's too risky. I've much to gain from the support of your clan, but if the mission ended in failure, I'd lose even more.
Eudora shrugged and returned to her bedroom. Meve resumed her interrupted journey, wondering if the dwarf would find some other way to betroth her beloved Zoltan.
The pot's worth the play, I believe. Fine. I accept your offer.
They then shook hands, sealing the deal. Meve had to bite her tongue to stop from crying out, for the young she-dwarf had the grip of a brawny blacksmith. Meve returned to her company, and, massaging her sore hand, presented Eudora's offer. Gascon volunteered for the task at once.
Thievery's my forte. The dwarves won't notice a single mothball out of place.
Gascon snuck into the archive under the cover of darkness. Just as he was tucking Eudora's desired document into his cloak, he heard dwarven boots clanking down the stairs.
Damn it!
Gascon swore.
I can't let them catch me.
Who's there?
What a nub. That was close. Piece of cake. Just a bit more. Easy as pie.
Luckily, Gascon managed to do the deed quietly, so the dwarves never found out who had broken in. As agreed, Meve handed Eudora the stolen document.
Ha!
The dwarf shouted, raising the parchment in a triumphant gesture.
Da can't do nothing to stop her making vows now. I've got to write Zoltan right quick. Thanks. Thanks a million times over.
And Eudora did her part too. Soon after, the Queen learned there'd been a gathering of the clans, and Ivor had indeed spoken on her behalf. She could only hope the elder Breckenriggs had swayed Bruva Hoog as well.
Eudora Breckenriggs Chuve. Oh, I truly like the sound of that. Oh, there's nothing like solidarity between ladyfolk. Nothing at all.
Da's stubborn, but I always find a way with him in the end. The right stratagem, and he turns into putty in my mitts. Da's stubborn, but I always find a way with him in the end. The right stratagem.
You can count on us, Queenie. Ivor'll be a wall at your back, stout and strong. You're no cold without a beard. What are you poking me for? Ah, scrounging for coin, no doubt. Righty then, take this pouch and kindly get off my arse. Ah, you thundering dope! I told you to hold your horses or you'll shake the hitch loose.
Oh, now you're a bleeding expert, are you? You overloaded the damn cart, that's why it's busted.
A wagon lay strewn across the middle of the road. Behind it stood others, some loaded with gold, jewels, and other valuables, others groaning under barrels of pickled meat. Each dwarf had his own theory about how the accident had come about, and thundered it out to all and sundry, peppered with choice invectives.
An odd caravan,
Meve said.
They don't look like merchants.
Nay, they ain't.
Gabor answered.
Dwarves of the Ferens clan, carrying gifts for the Drake. Remember Keltilis? When he took roost here, Ferences fought him for near a century. Then the dragon got weary of fighting and they realised he weren't going nowheres, so they cut a deal. He didn't bother them. They give him what he needs.
Well, well. And these offerings they send often?
Every week. Excuse me, got to separate them lads, for they tear out each other's beards. Hey there! Cool your idiot heads!
Gabor managed to douse his brethren's fiery tempers, but the wagon still lay across the road, blocking all traffic.
Queen,
said Xavier.
There's an easy repair. I've the tools, the parts.
Need but your permission.
Of course. Go see what can be done.
Xavier did indeed make quick work of the problem. Within moments, the wagon was rolling smoothly down the road, good as new.
Well, shaft me, your highness,
said one of the dwarves.
Your engineer's got a pate like stewed meat, but he kens his trade, that's for certain.
I'll convey your words to him. Or at least part of them.
Me and the lads will be on our way now, but first, take this. Bit of gold by way of thanks.
I appreciate the offer, but I cannot accept coin for helping a traveller in need. Common decency it is.
Huh? In our times, decency ain't common at all, but as you wish. Farewell.
The dwarf bowed in parting, shook the snow off his beard, then rejoined his caravan. Within a few moments, the wagons had disappeared around the bend.
Thank you,
Meve said, accepting the surprisingly heavy pouch.
In wartime, every copper counts.
The dwarf bowed in parting, shook the snow off his beard, then rejoined his caravan. Within a few moments, the wagons had disappeared around the bend. A pillar of smoke rose above the mountains, and a sooty aroma filled the air.
Fire,
Gabor said, then took a deep sniff.
Perhaps a bolt struck some barren trees?
No,
Meve said curtly.
I know that scent too well. All Edirn reeked of it. It's the smell of burning homes.
The Lyrians quickened their gait. Soon they saw a town fully aflame, and a roaring, furious dragon above it.
That's your Keltimis?
Gascon asked, shielding his eyes from the sharp glare emanating from the city.
You were right. Perfectly harmless.
Dinna ken what's got his knickers in a bunch,
the dwarf said, grabbing his axe from his belt.
Queen, we got to make haste to the rescue.
No, Gabor.
Meve shook her head.
We ride on.
The dwarf stared at the Queen in disbelief.
Meve, the town will burn to the ground.
And so you wish us to burn along with it? I shall not send my men to a certain death. This is work for a witcher, a mage, not common infantry.
Gabor uttered no more protests. In fact, he uttered nothing at all. He rode at the back of the procession, moving his lips in a silent, profanity-laced manner.
Reynard!
Meve called out.
Have our men wet their cloaks for a modicum of fire protection. We move as soon as they're done.
Your Grace, they are but common soldiers. To fight a dragon.
I know, but we must help them, or at least try.
While Reynard went to pass on the order, Meve turned to Gabor.
Smother your fears, Sir Dwarf,
Ake proclaimed. Without waiting for Meve's reply, he dropped his lance and galloped headlong towards the burning city.
Follow me! Slay the Viper!
No, Gabor.
Meve shook her head.
We ride on.
The dwarf stared at the Queen in disbelief.
Meve, the town will burn to the ground.
And so you wish us to burn along with it? I shall not send my men to a certain death. This is work for a witcher, a mage, not common infantry.
Gabor uttered no more protests. In fact, he uttered nothing at all. He rode at the back of the procession, moving his lips in a silent, profanity-laced manner. And Ake of Dinell, the famed monster slayer, he could not believe his own eyes. Watch helplessly as a dragon reduces house after house to ash, murders an entire town. Oh no, a knight-errant could never do such a thing.
Reynard!
Meave called out.
Have our men wet their cloaks for a modicum of fire protection. We move as soon as they're done. If we don't make haste, Ake will be reduced to smouldering plate.
Your Grace, they are but common soldiers. To fight a dragon.
I know, but we must help them, or at least try.
While Reynard went to pass on the order, Meave turned to Gabor.
This dragon, has it any weakness?
Fear not,
said the somber dwarf.
Except a fondness for raw meat.
Meave nodded and swallowed dryly. Despite the cold, she felt sweat pour down her scalp. Stifling her fear, Meave gave the order to attack, and her soldiers rode into the flaming city. From up close, Keltalis looked even more terrifying. Though enormous, he moved with shocking agility, like a lizard scurrying over sand. With one swing of his paw, he snapped the necks of 3 dwarves, then bisected a fourth with a powerful bite. After that, he turned his attention to the Lyrians.
More of you!
He said, twisting his bloody maw into a horrifying smile.
God!
Behind me! Stay together!
Your Grace, we're taking losses! Discipline shall bring us victory!
Catch!
You haven't killed a dragon. It has to be possible. All right, that's no problem. Ah, shite! He's raging now! Watch out!
For Demavend!
My scars? No, they don't hurt. I smell a leak.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
The vermin's diminished, but be wary. Each blow it answers still with wrath and fury.
I'd hoped we could solve this some other way.
I fear not, for faith guides me.
That day, many Lyrians perished, either to the dragon's all-consuming fire or to its flesh-rending claws. Yet their sacrifice was not in vain. Together with the dwarves, they were able to grievously wound Celtulis, forcing him to flee. The howls of the wounded monster rang throughout the valley.
That's right, howl, you scurvy snake! Shouldn't they ever attacked us, eh? Damn fuel lizard!
Meave, that's Vavrenik, elder of the town and all the Ferences.
My regards, and condolences.
Eh, tain't so bad. If nae for ye, wouldn't there be a stone left unrubbled? To be honest, when I caught wind some human queen come to Mahakam looking for aid, I said a crocus would sprout twixt my cheeks afore I'd vote aye on that. Gonna be a fear to look in my breeches after, but changed my mind. After what I saw today, what ye did for us, you've the support and undying gratitude of all Ferences.
Thank you. Faced with a Nilfgaardian peril, that means a great deal.
Forgive me for interrupting this tear-tugging scene of interracial reconciliation, but I can't hold back no longer. Vavrenik! Double shice! What happened? Why'd Celtulis attack?
I ken as much as ye. Meaning, squat diddly. Just flew up, started spewing flames, half the town lit up in a flash.
Sheepshank! 300 years I've been a good neighbour.
What's done's done. Gotta think about the future. The Drake's just taking a breather. Gotta finish him off for he's regained form.
Meaning, we haven't much time. He heals like an alchemist's pup. And the nearest guards are miles away. He'll be up flying again before they get here.
Aye, that's what I thought. Perhaps, your grace, you'd,
What? Jest you must.
I ken you're tired through the fight, dinna want to risk casualties, etc. But remember, the beast sleeping on a bed of gold and rubies. All belonging by right to Bruther, of course. But if quibbling some wandered off, he'd nae notice.
Oh no. We fought a dragon once. That is more than enough, thank you.
This shouldn't be much of a fight. You saw yourself he were bleeding like a leaky bladder. Just gotta deliver the coup de grace.
Then why not deliver it yourself?
Maeve, take a gander around. Everything's in ash. Nae a dwarf left whose skin didn't look like burnt porridge. I canna just leave him.
Oh, I don't know. I must give it some thought.
Think about the treasure, too.
So, where is Celtulis's lair?
North of here. It's a vast cavern. Ye canna miss it.
Meave bid farewell to Vavrenek and set out on her way. Did her way lead to the dragon's lair, you ask? Shh. Let's not spoil the surprise.
I admit that does alter my calculations. Besides, the dragon was badly wounded.
Putting it featherly, blood poured out of him like a leaky bladder. Just needs a coup de grace.
Fine. I'll do the deed.
Ken did see the light.
Oi, Vavrenek, Vavrenek. This lady's gonna make your rump a regular crocus garden.
Aye. Queen's doing us a great service. One that'll profit us both.
So, where is Celtulis's lair?
North of here. It's a vast cavern. Ye canna miss it.
Meave bid farewell to Vavrenek and set out on her way. Did her way lead to the dragon's lair, you ask? Shh. Let's not spoil the surprise.
That stings. Got a blow on it a little. Trista Borheed, and what do you get? A singed bahookie. Brown, red, gold. Every dragon's a right bastard. Wait! I'm coming with ye! Gonna beat that scaly bastard so hard he'll shoot fire out his arse!
Keltalis' lair was indeed impossible to miss, as would stand to reason, for any space capable of containing a dragon must be enormous. The lair's maw, a black triangle cut out of a vast plain of snow, loomed from afar. Confirming the dragon's presence was the powerful odor emanating from it, one of sulfur and blood.
Well then,
Gascon said,
ready to become a legendary dragon slayer?
No.
Said the Queen.
Not now, and perhaps not ever.
Meve expected a sardonic complaint from Gascon, or at least a raised eyebrow. But no, the Duke of Dogs nodded his head with understanding. Even he understood the dragon, though mortally wounded, was not a foe to take lightly. The Lyrians returned to the mouth of Keltalis' lair. Pained roars echoed deep inside the cavern.
Well,
Gascon asked, his gaze fixed on the cave before him.
Shall we charge in?
My father oft said, never should you count pelts till the hunt is through.
Meve said, dismounting her horse.
It's all the more true when you hunt dragons. He's wounded, yes, but one puff of flame, and we shall be not legends, but corpses. Leave all thoughts of foolhardy bravery behind.
The Lyrians crept across the dragon's threshold. They walked single file, shields raised, watched by bats hanging from the ceiling. Keltalis lay curled up on a bed of diamonds and gold coins turned red from his blood. Seeing how he strained merely to lift his massive head, Meve knew the dragon no longer posed any threat.
Come to finish what your poison began?
The monster croaked hoarsely.
Fine. Do it then.
Keltalis turned over, exposing his vulnerable underbelly, and waited calmly for the fatal blow. Meve raised her sword high and swept it down with enormous strength, cutting the scaled belly in twain. The monster bellowed out a long roar and writhed its tail, scattering diamonds everywhere. Then grew still. Keltalis, the last red dragon between the Great Sea and the fiery mountains, had breathed his last. There followed a strange silence. No one cheered. No one clapped.
That was...
Gascon said, the first to break the silence.
Not terribly epic.
What'd you expect?
Gabor said, arms akimbo.
Fanfare and fireworks. The mountain to quake. He up and died. What else would he do?
I am certain, Your Grace,
Reynard said,
that the poets will endow this moment with the appropriate splendor.
I'm sure they will.
The Queen said, sheathing her sword.
For they are liars.
The Queen told her soldiers to gather a part of the dragon's treasure, small enough not to bring down the wrath of Bruverhoog, but large enough to fully compensate the Lyrians' losses. And Meve gained the title of Dragon Slayer, though she rarely made much mention of it.
Wait.
Meve said, dropping her sword.
What poison?
Keltalis laughed while squeezing his bleeding side in pain.
So they didn't tell you? Lousy munchkins.
Hey! Watch your tongue!
Gabor yelled.
Sides, I didn't ken anything about it.
Keltalis looked the Lyrians over mistrustfully with his snake-like eyes, then began to tell his tale. The caravan Meve had met on the road was different to the others. This time, Keltalis's meat had been pickled in a special brine, one spiked with poison. As the dragon lay curled up in pain, Ferenc dwarves entered his lair and smashed his head.
So if I understand correctly...
Meve interrupted.
You're female?
Correct. Same as you.
As if on command, all Lyrian eyes turned to Gabor.
Don't you look at me? We didn't peek under his, its tail.
If I may.
Reynard interjected.
These revelations about Keltalis's sex are undeniably fascinating. But I'm more curious why the Ferences stooped to such a dishonorable deed.
That's easy enough to guess.
Meve said.
They were afraid the dragon would soon demand more tribute to feed its young, so they decided to strike preemptively.
A wise and noble deed.
Ache cried.
Evil must always be nipped in the bud.
To the Ferences' misfortune, they delivered too small a dose of poison. Infuriated at the sight of the broken eggs, the dragon gathered its strength and flew to the nearest town. Meve saw for herself what happened then. And now it was up to her to decide how this story would end. The dragon had killed dozens, perhaps even hundreds, but had been provoked first by the dwarves' heartless cruelty. Did it thus deserve death or mercy?
When judging my subjects, I would sometimes not know who bore the greater guilt,
said Meve.
But as ruler, I had to reach a verdict, often a harsh one.
The Queen returned her sword to its sheath.
This is not my land,
Meve said.
Nor are these my subjects. I don't have to choose the lesser evil.
Meve!
Gabor hissed.
Bruver will be furious.
Let him. And you, dragon, swear me this. When you heal, you shall leave Mahakam and never return.
You've my word. And my gratitude.
Meve was about to leave the cavern when the dragon blocked her way with its tail, then gathered a smattering of valuables at the Queen's feet. Each would be the prize of the Lyrian crown jewels. News that Meve had spared the dragon, which had killed dozens of dwarves, did indeed enrage the inhabitants of Mahakam, the Ferences in particular. But when the clans considered driving the Lyrians from the pass, Elder Vavrenek opposed it. No matter what happened after, he had sworn Meve his undying gratitude.
Your Grace, 'tis not right.
Calm down, Sir Ake. What's the problem?
The deed you've committed, most foul. As the good book says, whosoever standeth idle in the face of evil proveth guilty of the same. Know that I never stand idle. Yet I cannot stop you from doing so. Thus I must leave. I refuse to play any part in the wickedness you perpetrate.
Sir Ake.
Farewell, Queen. And may the gods have pity on your soul.
I understand your pain,
Meve said.
But nothing can justify the massacre you wrought.
Nothing? And what would you have done in my place?
Snorted the dragon.
Pen a letter of complaint to Elder-in-Chief Hoog? They killed my children?
I'd have done the same.
The Queen replied, not hesitating a moment.
I'd have sought revenge, knowing what punishment I'd earn.
The monster looked Meve in the eyes a long while, then dropped its head.
I've no more strength to fight. I've no more reason to fight. Do as you see fit.
When judging my subjects, I would sometimes not know who bore the greater guilt,
said Meve.
But as ruler, I had to reach a verdict, often a harsh one.
The Queen returned her sword to its sheath.
This is not my land,
Meve said.
Nor are these my subjects. I don't have to choose the lesser evil.
Meve!
Gabor hissed.
Bruver will be furious.
Let him. And you, dragon, swear me this. When you heal, you shall leave Mahakam and never return.
You've my word. And my gratitude.
Niamh was about to leave the cavern when the dragon blocked her way with its tail, then gathered a smattering of valuables at the Queen's feet. Each would be the prize of the Lyrian crown jewels. News that Niamh had spared the dragon, which had killed dozens of dwarves, did indeed enrage the inhabitants of Mahakam, the Ferences in particular. But when the clans considered driving the Lyrians from the pass, Elder Vavrenek opposed it. No matter what happened after, he had sworn Niamh his undying gratitude.
Your Grace, 'tis not right.
Calm down, Sir Aik. What's the problem?
The deed you've committed, most foul. As the good book says, whosoever standeth idle in the face of evil proveth guilty of the same. Know that I never stand idle. Yet I cannot stop you from doing so. Thus I must leave. I refuse to play any part in the wickedness you perpetrate.
Sir Aik.
Farewell, Queen. And may the gods have pity on your soul.